here today talking to an outstanding veteran.
PFC.
PFC, you're still a veteran though.
Yeah.
Veteran of the United States Army.
Yeah, retired.
Who served gloriously through the Korean campaign. I myself also served during the Korean campaign. We have a lot in common. And I'm Skip Amos, and this is Robert Ganong.
Conrad.
Conrad.
Conrad. Yeah.
Okay, Conrad Ganong.
So I was in. I was in on the Capitol. Was you noticed was lost twice, and we won it back twice. And I was in on.
You're talking about Seoul, Korea.
Seoul, Korea.
Right.
And then the North Korean Capitol. I helped. I was in on that. And my outfit was one of the first. It's one of the biggest and the best outfit in the country. Mm-hmm. It's the 1st Cavalry.
Right.
As General MacArthur's pride and joy.
Right.
I survived the war and come back in 1951.
Okay.
And when they interviewed me, I lost my battalion, so I became an orphan in the war. So I was joined I fought in other outfits. I didn't even know what outfits I was in a lot of times, you know. So whatever outfits I was in. The shortest liberation in history of warfare. We liberated the North Korean capital. We defeated the North Korean army.
Right.
And before you know it, we was up there on the Manchurian border, and I was wondering why them planes were turning around and coming back, the American planes.
Yes.
I didn't know what was going on. There was no internet at that time.
Right.
No cell phones.
Right.
So the soldiers were the last ones to find out
Right.
what in the world was going on. So we found out the planes could only go so far.
They couldn't fly over the Yellow River.
And we couldn't go so far. So we come up near the Manchurian border, and we're sitting there. And the grapevine, I learned through the grapevine, they told me, "You've been recommended for the Medal of Honor." Well, it sounded nice.
Right.
You know. But little did I know, in a few days, my outfit was 800 of us went in, and 600 was wiped out.
So you were in a battalion of 800, and then
The
you
third
got overrun when the Chinese came across.
The Chinese
Yellow
came
River.
across, and everything changed. So I made it. So like I say, I was missing in action twice, and I came back, missing twice, prisoner of war, and I popped up 6 months later. And
who held you prisoner of war?
The Chinese.
The Chinese. Okay.
Yeah, me and my brother both.
And then you eventually made your way back and rejoined the American Army, right?
I came back, and at that time, I didn't know all this. I read all this in the paper.
Right.
At that time, it was about in May or June when MacArthur came over.
Right.
See, I had gotten a job. It just happened. Always somebody popped up at the right time.
Right.
So when I made it, I was 6 months on the front line.
Okay.
And survived 6 months hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
I survived it. But so when I came back, I was on like I say, 6 months, and they just happened to need a Jeep driver. And I happened been on the line. I have experience in combat.
Right.
So he gave me a job driving the Jeep. Mm-hmm. And I'm driving the Jeep with high-ranking people all over Korea, you know. Mm-hmm. So we was all in that ticker tape parade in the Capitol. So I'm driving a Jeep, and he's in his old khaki car, you know, with his chauffeurs and all. And then the president of South Korea gave us a key to the city. Well, a key to the city, paraded us through the streets of the city. And on my discharge, he gave me a Korean presidential citation, right, you know, for appreciation for what we did to help to liberate it, you know. So when I was getting ready, 1 year I spent over there.
Right.
6 months on the line, 6 months driving the Jeep. And then I was summoned to the 3rd Battalion. It's a new battalion now. Mm-hmm. See, my 1st Battalion, I was listed as killed in action or prisoner of war. They didn't know what happened to me. I learned when I came back to the original. I came back to the original battalion before it was wiped out. And they told me things about, we thought you were dead. You know, we didn't know what happened to you. There was a few left. So many wasn't left.
Right.
We lost their commander the first night. I didn't know this. All I know, we were surrounded. You know, woke up and they were all around us, you know. And the commander got killed the first night. But it's so good having another commander with a title like General MacArthur had, Supreme. That's a step above Commander-in-Chief.
Yes, yes.
And one of the greatest, two of the greatest generals in history was Eisenhower and MacArthur. We had the appreciation of all the people, population.
Right.
Just like the Second World War, the whole population. You know, when you win a war, you get recognized by everybody.
Right,
You know?
right, that's right. Not like it's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan at this time.
So I say, when I found out many years later, like I say, I didn't put in for no medals until 40 years later because I was so disgusted what Truman did. Send us, my brothers, send us over there to fight a game. And the war is the biggest game of all because we play war games before we ever go to battle, you know. And what he did, so I was disgusted with it. Didn't want no more to do.
So tell me about why you don't have your decorations.
Like I say, they sent me back. We got no record. I got it. We got no record of you being in the Army. So because your records were destroyed. Now I just happened to have a discharge, and on my discharge got my medals. And I sent my discharge to Philadelphia where they give out the medals. And then they sent me a few, but they never sent me. When I
Well, let's explain to people what really happened here, because I'm a product of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I also served in Korea in a MASH outfit,
Yeah.
and I came back and then went on and became a pharmacist and so forth and so on, as most people in Carroll County know. But I don't have an official discharge either, and the reason is because where all the records were kept in Kansas City, Missouri, they had a fire
Right.
in the late 1950s or in
I
the
got it
middle
all.
1950s.
It's all in there, yeah.
And all of that burned down, and all of our records were destroyed. So the only thing they can certify is that you served in the service, and they have the
They
dates
had-
and times.
they had no
between-
proof.
Of when you served.
They
So
had no proof.
there's a thing called a DD 120,
Yeah.
and you and I don't have a DD 120, right?
I don't know what that is.
That's the thing they give you the day you discharge. But because the records burned down, we don't have one. We have a certificate from the Department of Defense saying that you served from such a date to such a date in the armed forces.
I was in Fort Meade.
Yes,
I got discharged at Fort Meade.
right?
So I kept that discharge.
Okay.
And that's when I sent away for my medals. And when I left, I had to go to the new battalion to get my paper
Right,
to be discharged from Korea.
right.
And when I went there, they interviewed me.
Mm-hmm.
And when he heard about me, my story, he just shook his head, what I've been through. And you know what he said, we're going to give you?
What?
We're going to give you 6 Bronze Stars. I said, for what? He says, because you was in on 6 major campaigns, from the Pusan perimeter to the Manchurian border, the capital of North
Right.
Korea. And you was in there, all them battles and survived. He said, we're going to give you 6 Bronze Stars. But I never got anything in person from the president.
Okay.
But I did get honored by the mayor of Baltimore City.
Who was D'Alessandro?
Yeah, I got the picture of him in there,
Right.
Alexander. It was the first celebration of the Medal of Honor winner, the first one.
Okay.
And it was the next year. And that was the first one for a Medal of Honor winner and a missing in action person. And I qualified for both.
Okay.
And and that was in 1951. And it wasn't no American Day. It was just, it tells you in the paper, it was celebration for that first anniversary
Okay.
of the Medal of Honor winner that was killed in action.
Okay.
And one was missing in action.
Okay.
And I was listed as both.
Now, what do you plan to do now? Follow up on your story. You're going to get it published, your story, you hope?
Oh, sure. Like I say, it took me 60 years, and all my writing, all my war stories and all, I sent out to my family and
Right.
friends, you know. So after 60 years, I got a publisher, and I got it in the Keith Brewer,
Right.
famous rock star band of his own, you know. So he told me, and just like that, I said, do you think I got a bestseller? He didn't say him and haw. He said, definitely you got a bestseller, and they can be worth a lot of money.
Well,
And he said, but you need a writer.
yeah.
You need a writer. So what I want, I'm still looking for, I'd like to have an audience with Obama. He did me a favor. And I wasn't for him in the beginning, but he did me a very big favor. In his new health plan that he put out in 2010, guess what he did for me?
What?
I was caught up in that VA Veterans Hospital for 60 years, in and out, spending 3, 4, and 5 hours at a time. And it got more crowded as more illegals come in. And that was a nightmare. So with his new health plan, he got me out of that. So I happened to move to Westminster. And can you imagine with the price of gas and everything? And at the beginning, I had to go back and forth.
Right.
And you know you got to go back and forth.
Right.
And he got me out of the VA hospital to the private sector in Westminster. So now I live right down the street from the hospital. And I'm thankful for a media project to give me the opportunity to tell my story.
Right.
You know?